When you were a kid, did you ever want to be a superhero? Like to the point where you imagined, what if you woke up and suddenly you could run super fast, or you could, fly or lift things no matter how heavy they were? I did. I wanted to so bad that every single morning I would test things out. For a couple of years, I would test things out just to see okay, can I lift up this truck? No. I always wanted to though. And I think it was really cool that as a kid, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a TV show that allowed me to kind of vicariously live through a character. That character is Andrew Clemens. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I hope this rings a bell. There was a TV show called My Secret Identity. It starred Jerry O'Connell, and the story goes that a kid has this neighbor who's kind of a wacky scientist, and he kind of bugs him a little bit, but one day, this kid, Andrew, goes into Dr. Jeffcoat, the scientist's building to grab something for him, and gets zapped by a laser. And this laser gives him superpowers. He's able, sort of, to fly, and he's able to run super fast, and he can lift things, and he's invincible to a point. And it was such a great, silly show. It definitely wasn't a masterpiece, but it was a huge part of my childhood. So they went through different scenarios where he lost his superpowers at one point, and they were trying to find ways to actually bring him back to normal, although he didn't want to, of course, because, would you want to get rid of superpowers if you got them out of nowhere? So I just found out that this show, which ran from 1988 to 1991, it ran 4 seasons, the creator, when he was coming up with ideas to pitch for the show, he was told that they wanted a TV show, like a sitcom it had the atmosphere of Back to the Future. And what he wanted to do was take the odd best friends relationship that Doc and Marty had, make it a little bit more realistic. He made Andrew Clemens a little bit more annoying to the doctor, to the crazy scientist. He made the crazy scientist a little less crazy. He also took all of the superpowers. I know as a kid, I always likened the character to Superboy. And so it seems like he took all of the traits of Superboy and just lowered them. He couldn't actually fly, he could float, and he actually needed help. He would use aerosol spray cans, which I think actually at one point, I remember this, that a lot of kids were trying that, and it became an issue. There was news reports about it. But he couldn't quite fly. He was invincible, but he could be drowned. There was limits to all of his powers. There was actually an episode, it's one of my favorite episodes. There was an episode where he went to the dentist, and he was scared that when they gave him a needle, it was just going to bend, and his secret was going to be out that he was a superhero, or had superpowers. And when they did that, the needle went right in. Novocaine it made his powers wear completely off, and he had to go hours without having his secret powers. And it was all of a sudden he got into a fight. I remember he got into a fight and he bled. He got punched in the mouth and he was bleeding, and he was like, what? It was a shock to him. Eventually they did come back. It was a really great show. I highly suggest, if you haven't seen it, check it out. One of the biggest things, one of my favorite things that still to this day, sticks with me, is the theme song. I could right now sing half of it without even trying. It's definitely a catchy and really fun theme song. So I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. But first. So on the last day of May, I'm wearing my Go Gray in May t-shirt. It is in honor of childhood brain cancer. If you have any questions or you want to find out ways to support families who have or are dealing with it, please leave some comments. If you want to find ways to donate or to support the actual cause, let me know. I have friends who will be glad to explain. Second, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. If you do remember My Secret Identity, I'm going to ask you to rate the show. Jerry O'Connell was the main star. I'm going to ask you to rate the show on a scale from 1 to 22. 22 is the best because 22 is the best. And don't forget, nostalgia rules.